sky pursues its appointed course. Now the winner pulls in to be submerged beneath a seething mass, eager to acclaim a resounding victory. A victory as richly deserved as it was long awaited.
In the world of luxury automobiles, few names resonate with the same timeless elegance and British refinement as Aston Martin. From the sleek lines of the DB5 made famous by James Bond to the thunderous roar of their V12 engines, Aston Martin has long been a symbol of automotive excellence. But lurking beneath the polished veneer and the roar of the engines is a story of financial turmoil and resilience that spans over a century. Imagine a company that has danced on the precipice of financial ruin not once, not twice, but an astonishing 7 times. A company whose very survival seemed to hang in the balance, yet somehow, against all odds, managed to rise from the ashes time and time again. This is the remarkable tale of Aston Martin's tumultuous history of bankruptcy, a roller coaster ride of triumphs and setbacks that has left an indelible mark on the world of luxury automobiles. In this video, we'll dive deep into the archives, uncovering the secrets and scandals, the bold innovations, and near-catastrophic missteps that have defined Aston Martin's financial roller coaster. We'll hear from the men and women who lived through the company's darkest hours and those who steered it back toward the light. From the glamour of the racetracks to the harsh realities of the boardroom, this is a story that spans generations and one that will leave you on the edge of your seat. Join us as we take you on a captivating journey through the twists and turns of Aston Martin's history. A story of passion, perseverance, and the unyielding spirit of a brand that refused to let bankruptcy define its destiny. This is the untold saga of Aston Martin, a company that went bankrupt 7 times and emerged stronger and more iconic with each brush with financial catastrophe. Our story starts in the early 20th century when the seeds of the Aston Martin legend were sown by 2 enterprising visionaries, Lionel Martin and Robert Bamford. Their journey began in 1912 when they joined forces under the name Bamford and Martin. Located on the bustling streets of Callow Street, London, their modest establishment not only sold Singer cars, but also provided maintenance services for GWK and Calthorpe vehicles. But Lionel Martin, a man with a passion for speed, had racing on his mind. He'd frequently unleash his special creations on the challenging tracks of Aston Hill near Aston Clinton. The thrill of racing ignited a dream within him and Bamford, the dream of crafting their own automobiles. Their first foray into this audacious endeavor involved Lionel Martin ingeniously marrying a 4-cylinder Coventry simplex engine to the chassis of a 1908 Isotta Fraschini. And with that, the name Aston Martin was born. Their ambitions soared, and they secured a location at Henniker Mews in Kensington. In March 1915, their tireless efforts bore fruit, and the first official Aston Martin car rolled off the production line. Yet, their dreams were put on hold as the world plunged into the chaos of the First World War. Lionel Martin and Robert Bamford answered the call of duty. Martin served with the Admiralty, while Bamford enlisted in the Army Service Corps. As the dust of World War I settled, Aston Martin found a new lease on life in the interwar years. Their journey led them to Abington Road, Kensington, where they embarked on the design of a brand new automobile. However, the first hint of a problem came in 1920 when Robert Bamford departed from the company, leaving Lionel Martin at the helm. Fortunately, a guardian angel appeared in the form of Count Louis Zaborowski, providing the much-needed financial lifeline. In 1922, Aston Martin unleashed a trio of racing beasts destined to etch their names in automotive history. These 3 works, team cars, equipped with 16-valve twin-cam engines, were more than mere machines. They were record breakers, carrying chassis numbers 1914, later known as the Green P, 1915, the Razorblade record car, and 1916, later evolved into the Halford Special. At the French Grand Prix and the hallowed halls of Brooklands, they set world speed and endurance records that left the competition in their dust. Approximately 55 cars, offered in two configurations, long chassis and short chassis, were built for sale, further cementing Aston Martin's reputation as a purveyor of fine automobiles. But the road was not without its bumps. In 1924, the company found itself on the brink of financial ruin, succumbing to bankruptcy. Enter Dorothea, Lady Charnwood, who took the reins and placed her son, John Benson, on the board. The company seemed to have stabilized, but adversity struck once more in 1925, forcing Lionel Martin to relinquish control as Bamford had already parted ways. However, a new chapter unfolded as Bill Renwick, Augustus, Bert, Bertelli, and a group of investors, including Lady Charnwood, stepped in. They breathed new life into the business, renaming it Aston Martin Motors and relocating it to the former Whitehead Aircraft Limited Hanworth Works in Feltham. Renwick and Bertelli had a vision underpinned by their innovative overhead cam four-cylinder engine, known as the Buzzbox. Their initial plan was to sell this engine to other car manufacturers, but upon learning that Aston Martin had ceased production, they seized the opportunity to resurrect the brand's legacy. From 1926 to 1937, Bertelli took the reins as the technical director and designer of the newly minted Bertelli cars. These included iconic models like the 1.5-liter T-Type, International, Le Mans, Mark II, the racing sensation Ulster, and the 2-liter 1598, along with its racing counterpart, the Speed model. Most of these were open two-seater sports cars, bearing the artistic touch of Bert Bertelli's brother, Enrico, Harry. A handful of long chassis four-seater tours, dropheads, and saloons also rolled off the assembly line. Bertelli wasn't just a designer, he was a racer at heart, and he wasn't content to merely build cars, he wanted to drive them too. The LM team cars, with Bertelli at the wheel, made their mark in national and international motorsport, including the storied grounds of Le Mans. Yet, financial turbulence returned in 1932, and it was Lance Prideaux-Brune who briefly rescued Aston Martin before passing the torch to Sir Arthur Sutherland in 1936. The company decided to pivot its focus to road cars, producing around 700 of them before the specter of World War II brought a halt to their efforts. Aston Martin's production lines shifted to support the war effort, churning out vital aircraft components. The post-war era ushered in a new chapter for Aston Martin, marked by the arrival of a knight in shining armor, David Brown. In 1947, David Brown Limited, a well-established gear and machine tools manufacturer from Huddersfield, stepped in to acquire Aston Martin, placing it firmly under the umbrella of its tractor group. This move was nothing short of a salvation for the beleaguered automaker, as David Brown himself would go on to become an integral part of Aston Martin's storied history. But Brown's ambitions didn't stop at Aston Martin. He had his sights set on another iconic marquee, LAGONDA. In his pursuit of engineering excellence, Brown acquired LAGONDA specifically for its magnificent 2.6-liter W.O. Bentley-designed engine. LAGONDA's operations were relocated to Newport Pagnell, where it joined forces with Aston Martin, sharing engines, resources, and workshops. Under David Brown's stewardship, Aston Martin embarked on a journey that would give birth to the legendary DB series of cars. It all began in April 1950 when they unveiled their Le Mans prototype, christened the DB2. This was followed by the DB2-4 in 1953, the DB2-4 Mark II in 1955, the DB Mark III in 1957, and the strikingly Italian-styled 3.7-liter DB4 in 1958. These models not only solidified Aston Martin's racing pedigree, but also resonated with discerning luxury car enthusiasts. While each DB model left its mark, it was the DB4 that truly shone, paving the way for the iconic DB5 in 1963. Aston Martin remained faithful to its grand touring style with subsequent releases, including the DB6 (1965–70) and the DBS (1967–1972). However, even with the David Brown era's success, financial woes continued to haunt Aston Martin. In 1972, David Brown valiantly cleared all of the company's debts, a staggering sum rumored to be £5 million or more. Astonishingly, he then handed over the reins to Company Developments, an investment bank consortium based in Birmingham, chaired by the astute accountant William Wilson. A new chapter had begun under Wilson's leadership. Yet, as if by a cruel twist of fate, the worldwide recession, a lack of working capital, and the daunting task of developing an engine that could meet California's stringent exhaust emission requirements all converged to create a perfect storm. These challenges dealt a severe blow to Aston Martin's financial stability, bringing the company to the brink of receivership once more at the close of 1974. The once thriving manufacturing plant that had employed 460 workers was shuttered. In the mid-1970s, Aston Martin's turbulent financial journey took another twist. The receiver, tasked with salvaging the company's future, found buyers in April 1975. North American businessman Peter Sprague, Toronto hotelier George Minden, and London businessman Jeremy Turner led the consortium that stepped in. They were determined to maintain Aston Martin's British identity, reassuring reporters that the company would remain firmly under British control. Peter Sprague, in particular, had an unusual reason for his involvement. He claimed to have fallen in love not with the cars themselves, but with the factory, the skill and dedication of the workforce, and their remarkable craftsmanship. With the addition of investor Alan Curtis, a British office property developer, and George Flather, a retired Sheffield steel magnate, the new ownership was poised to breathe new life into Aston Martin. By September 1975, just 6 months later, the factory, which had been shuttered since December the previous year, roared back to life under its new ownership. Aston Martin LAGONDA Limited emerged with 100 employees, with plans to expand the workforce to 250 by the year's end. The company's revival was accompanied by a surge in orders, with 150 cars destined for the US market, 100 for other global destinations, and an additional 80 cars ordered by a Japanese importing agency. Under the new ownership, Aston Martin began to modernize its lineup. They introduced the V8 Vantage in 1977, followed by the convertible Volante in 1978, and the unique BULLDOG, designed by William Townes in 1980. Townes was also responsible for shaping the futuristic LAGONDA SALOON, which was based on the V8 model. Despite these changes and investments, the 1980s ushered in new challenges. In July 1980, Aston Martin LAGONDA faced cutbacks due to a recession, resulting in the reduction of its 450-strong workforce by more than 20%, leading to layoffs. By January 1981, with no satisfactory revival partners in sight, Alan Curtis and Peter Sprague announced that they had never intended to maintain a long-term financial stake in Aston Martin LAGONDA. Instead, they made the decision to sell the company to Victor Gauntlet of Pace Petroleum. Victor Gauntlet entered the scene by purchasing a 12.5% stake in Aston Martin for £500,000 through Pace Petroleum in 1980. Tim Hearley of CH Industrials also acquired a similar share. At the beginning of 1981, Pace and CHI assumed joint 50-50 ownership, with Gauntlet serving as the executive chairman. Gauntlet also took charge of the sales team and successfully promoted the LAGONDA as the world's fastest four-seater production car, securing sales in Oman, Kuwait, and Qatar. The year 1982 marked a significant milestone, as Aston Martin was granted a royal warrant of appointment by the Prince of Wales. Recognizing that it would take time to develop new Aston Martin products, the company established an engineering service subsidy to create automotive products for other firms. This subsidiary adopted the trade name Salmons & Son, the in-house coach builder known as Tickford, which Aston Martin had acquired in 1955. The name Tickford had a long history associated with high-quality carriages and cars, often with folding roofs. New products, such as the Tickford Austin Metro and Tickford Ford Capri, were introduced, along with Tickford-designed train interiors, particularly for the Jaguar XJS. Pace Petroleum continued its involvement in racing, sponsoring events including those organized by the Aston Martin Owners Club. They even entered a Tickford-engined Nimrod Group C car in racing events, which achieved significant success, including 7th place in the 1982 24 Hours of Le Mans race. However, production car sales had dwindled to an all-time low of just 30 cars in 1982. As the petroleum market faced increasing challenges and Aston Martin required more investment, Gauntlet agreed to sell Hayes Pace to the Kuwait Investment Office in September 1983. Gauntlet also sold a significant portion of his ownership to American importer and Greek shipping tycoon Peter Livanos, who invested through a joint venture with Nick and John Papanikolaou known as All Inc. Gauntlet remained the chairman of AML, with 55% ownership held by All, while the Tickford subsidiary became a 50-50 venture between All and CHI. The complex relationship eventually came to an end when All exercised its options to acquire a larger share in AML. CHI's remaining shares were exchanged for CHI's complete ownership of Tickford, which retained the development of existing Aston Martin projects. In 1984, Papanikolaou's Titan shipping business encountered financial trouble, prompting George Livanos, Peter's father, to acquire Papanikolaou's shares in All. Gauntlet once again became a shareholder, holding a 25% stake in AML. The entire deal valued Aston Martin AML at £2 million, coinciding with the production of the company's 10,000th car. Despite the necessary workforce reductions, Gauntlet invested in the Italian styling house Zagato and revived the collaboration with Aston Martin. In 1986, Gauntlet orchestrated the return of the fictional British secret agent James Bond to the Aston Martin fold.
You picked up the police van.
There must be an atmospheric anomaly.
Gauntlet provided his personal pre-production Vantage for use in the filming of The Living Daylights and sold a Volante to Broccoli for personal use in America. Interestingly, Gauntlet declined an offer to play a KGB colonel in the film due to time constraints. As Aston Martin faced the need for long-term financial stability, Ford Motor Company stepped in to secure the company's future. In 1987, Ford acquired a 75% stake in Aston Martin and subsequently acquired the remaining shares. This pivotal move marked a significant turning point in Aston Martin's history. The acquisition was the result of a chance meeting and a shared vision. In May of that year, Victor Gauntlet and Prince Michael of Kent found themselves at the home of Contessa Maggie, the wife of the founder of the original Mille Miglia race. Also in attendance was Walter Hayes, Vice President of Ford of Europe. Despite some previous complications over Ford's acquisition of AC cars, Hayes recognized the potential of the Aston Martin brand, and the discussion led to Ford acquiring a shareholding in September 1987. By 1988, after producing approximately 5,000 cars in 20 years, enjoying economic growth and successful sales of limited edition models such as the Vantage and the Volante Zagato Coupe, each priced at £86,000, Aston Martin retired the aging V8 model and introduced the VIRAGE range. Although Gauntlet was contractually obligated to remain as chairman for 2 years, his passion for racing led the company back into sports car racing in 1989. Albeit with limited European success. With changes to engine regulations for the 1990 season and the launch of the new Volante model, Ford stepped in to provide Cosworth engines to the Jaguar Cars racing team. Recognizing the substantial engineering effort required to develop the entry-level DB7 model, Ford decided to take full control of Aston Martin, and Gauntlet relinquished the chairman's role to Hayes in 1991. Ford's ownership allowed Aston Martin to grow and invest in new manufacturing capabilities. In 1994, a new factory at Banbury Road in Bloxham was opened to manufacture the DB7. Production soared, with Aston Martin producing a record 700 cars in 1995. Prior to Ford's involvement, cars were produced using labor-intensive handcrafting methods, such as the English wheel. The DB7 range was expanded with the introduction of the more powerful V12 Vantage models in 1999, and in 2001, Aston Martin introduced the V12-engined flagship model, the Vanquish. Succeeding the aging VIRAGE, now called the V8 Coupe. In 2003, at the North American International Auto Show in Detroit, Michigan, Aston Martin unveiled the V8 Vantage concept car. This model, expected to undergo a few changes before its official launch in 2005, marked the return of the classic V8 engine, expanding Aston Martin's reach into the broader market. The year 2003 also witnessed the debut of the DB9 Coupe, which replaced the aging DB7. At the 2004 Detroit Auto Show, Aston Martin introduced a convertible version of the DB9 known as the DB9 Volante. In December 2003, Aston Martin made a significant announcement, revealing its return to motorsport in 2005 with the creation of Aston Martin Racing. This new division, in partnership with ProDrive, was tasked with designing, developing, and maintaining the DBR9 program. The DBR9 competed in the GT class in sports car races, including the prestigious 24 Hours of Le Mans. However, by 2006, Ford was undergoing an internal review of its premier automotive group. This review led to discussions about the potential divestment of certain brands, including Jaguar cars, Land Rover, and Volvo cars. In August 2006, Ford announced its decision to engage UBS AG to explore the sale of all or part of Aston Martin through an auction process. In 2007, a new chapter in Aston Martin's history began with a change in ownership. A consortium led by ProDrive chairman David Richards acquired the company for £475 million. The consortium included American investment banker John Sinders and two Kuwaiti companies, Investment Dar and Adim Investment. Ford retained a £40 million stake in Aston Martin. Under this new ownership, Aston Martin embarked on several initiatives to revitalize the brand and expand its global presence. One notable achievement was the demonstration of the V8 Vantage's durability across challenging terrains. In an effort to promote the car in China, a historic journey was undertaken, a cross-continental drive from Tokyo to Istanbul via the Asian Highway, followed by a European leg to London. This remarkable journey covered 12,089 kilometers and showcased the V8 Vantage's capabilities. The success of this venture led to the opening of Aston Martin dealerships in Shanghai and Beijing within 3 months. However, the global economic recession in December 2008 forced Aston Martin to reduce its workforce from 1,850 to 1,250 employees to adapt to challenging economic conditions. In December 2012, Italian private equity fund Invest Industrial purchased a 37.5% stake in Aston Martin, injecting £150 million into the company as a capital increase. This marked another shift in ownership as David Richards left Aston Martin in 2013 to focus on ProDrive. In April 2013, it was reported that Bez would step down from his role as CEO to take on an ambassadorial position. On the 2nd of September 2014, Andy Palmer, a former Nissan executive, was appointed as the new CEO, with Bez remaining in a non-executive chairman role. As Aston Martin faced declining sales starting in 2015, the company sought to attract new customers, including wealthy female buyers, by introducing concept cars like the DBX SUV and track-focused models like the Vulcan. Palmer acknowledged that the company's troubles began when sales of the DB9 failed to generate sufficient funds for developing next-generation models, leading to a decline in sales and profitability. In preparation for its next generation of sports cars, Aston Martin invested £20 million to expand its manufacturing plant in Gaydon. The expansion included the construction of a new chassis and pilot build facility, an extension of the parts and logistics storage area, and new offices, adding approximately 10,000 square meters to the plant's facilities. In 2014, Aston Martin faced a pre-tax loss of £72 million, nearly triple the amount from 2013, with the company selling only 3,500 cars during the year. This figure was well below the 7,300 cars sold in 2007 and 4,200 cars sold in 2013. To address financial challenges, Aston Martin issued payment-in-kind notes of $165 million at 10.25% interest in March 2014, in addition to the £304 million of senior secured notes at 9.25% issued in 2011. The company also secured an additional investment of £200 million from its shareholders to fund the development of new models. Aston Martin achieved a return to profitability in 2017 after selling over 5,000 cars. The company reported a pre-tax profit of £87 million compared to a £163 million loss in 2016. This year also marked the return of production to the Newport Pagnell facility 10 years after it had ceased operations. Starting in December 2013, Aston Martin entered into a partnership with the Mercedes-Benz Group, Daimler, to supply the next generation of Aston Martin cars with Mercedes-AMG engines. Mercedes-AMG also provided electrical systems to Aston Martin. This collaboration aimed to support Aston Martin's introduction of a new generation of models that incorporated advanced technology and engines. In return, Mercedes would receive up to 5% equity in Aston Martin and a non-voting seat on its board. And there you have it. Aston Martin's journey through bankruptcy and ownership changes has been a roller coaster ride. From its early days of financial instability to its recent partnerships and innovations, the iconic British automaker has demonstrated resilience and adaptability. As it looks ahead to the future with new technology and a commitment to profitability, Aston Martin remains a symbol of luxury, style, and enduring craftsmanship on the road.